What's the biggest scam in life that no one wants to admit?
Story 1.
I apologize, and I'm sorry, but the grind and hustle cultures only generate They think everyone's goal is to be rich as working 100 hours a week. I just want to be able to pay my bills and feed my family. Anything after that should be time spent with said family. I find that the poorer the upbringing, the more that they want it, but the ones that typically find it had connections by being rich already. But I agree, I'm kind of miserable in my current job because I have extremely stressful situations. Back in the day, I made less, but never thought about working after 8 hours a day. I literally felt like I could do whatever I wanted once I clocked out. Now I am constantly getting emails about fires that need to be put out. Oh, and my favorite thing to say about these people is that the appearance of being happy is way more important than them actually being happy. Another thing that recently changed my mind was going to my grandfather-in-law's funeral. The guy was a Navy man turned machinist. He never made much money. They had 5 kids who had 10 grandkids and 20 great-grandkids. He retired at 50, which is unthinkable these days. They lived very moderately, but they never worried about money for themselves or their kids. They didn't drive nice cars. They didn't own a house that was too big for them. They were just content. Hell, I've never met a happier couple and family than them and their kids. All their kids looked up to them as the pinnacle of good and happiness. And they were. I was really stressed at work when he died and the funeral happened, but it changed the way I thought about happiness. The shit we worry about most in life should never be work. It should always be on the last of our list of worries. How you get it there is hard though. Some don't have the luxury of worrying about money. Well, not worrying about money. Some do. But if you do, it shouldn't even cross your mind about exceeding it. Well, except for maybe doctors. I always laugh when people get so upset about work. It's not like anyone is dying if you miss a deadline. Stop acting like it is. Again, unless you're a doctor.
Story 2.
I think about this a lot in some of the finance subs. Yes, save for your future and your retirement if you can. Maybe you will live healthily into your 90s and that pot will be appreciated, as will the ability to retire in your 50s. I hope so. But I see people being like, I'm currently living like a Spartan to save money, and I've been able to cut out a hot shower, and now I have £50 extra a year. Should I invest here or here to make an extra 0.1% annually? I'm looking to spend X £100,000 or whatever by the time I'm 55. And I can't help but thinking, buddy, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm in my mid-30s, and I've seen people I know growing up die from cancer, alcoholism, and overdoses long before their time. Also, way before their planned retirement. No more laughs with friends, no more going on that trip to Brazil they'd always wanted to, no more seeing that band they were obsessed with, no more bumping into someone at a class and discovering they click perfectly, no more sunsets with the ones they love, no more heading out for the weekend with the wind in their hair, no more cheering on their team and with 600,000 others, no more tasting the perfect meal by candlelight, no more first days with a new console, no more fun, joy, or excitement. They're dead. That's it. We love and remember and cherish them, but, in this life at least, they experience none of that. No more. No need to blow all your cash if you have a savings goal, but do not forget to enjoy today.
Story 3.
We had a claw machine at work because we got paid a small percentage for hosting it. The guy who ran it was fantastic. He had it set to a low dollar amount for payout, so people would actually be able to win and win regularly. He also refused to tweak the machine with the grab and drop features, so it very rarely grabbed and then dropped something before getting it to the slot. He also had larger toys, so you could trade in your small toys for a larger one, and he had a fantastic range. Trade in 10, 20, or for the super large toy, trade in 50. We had some guys spend nearly $600 a week just because they wanted 50 toys to trade in for the unicorn that was so tall, it was taller than my hips. He even bought in toy ranges that timed well with the current movie releases. We were in a video store, so it worked out perfectly for us. We were making bank off of the machine, nearly $1,000 a month. And then he left, and each new person made the machine worse, the payout amount got higher, they tweaked settings for more grab and drops, dropped the trade-ins entirely, and the toy quality decreased with only the occasional fantastic toy line. It didn't matter what we said worked for our store, because each month was getting worse payouts. They'd tweak the machine even worse to get more money. By the time we asked them to take the machine away, we were making about $30 a month off of it. Enough to cover the electricity bill for it, and not much more.
Story 4.
Yeah, dental insurance is basically just an employee benefit masquerading as an insurance product. My dental insurance through my employer costs like $100 per year, and it is a pretty good deal for 2 cleanings a year and plus some x-rays, and some occasional other benefits like discounted fillings. But it doesn't do the one thing that insurance is supposed to do, which is cover catastrophic losses. The kinds of things you can't easily pay for out of pocket, which could bankrupt you. I don't need insurance for the occasional filling. I need insurance for the rare chance that my teeth get totally f***ed up and I end up needing multiple dollars to buy implants. But if you try to buy dental insurance not from an employer, it often looks like a pretty deal. I just pulled a random quote and it was like, what, $4.30 for me to get coverage? That coverage included regular visits, 80% of fillings, and 50% of major work. But with like $1,500 max, you're kinda screwed. So if you need 5 figures worth of implants, again, you're screwed. That's a terrible deal for most people. Most dentists will give you a great deal on cleanings if you pay cash up front though. In many areas you can get quality care for about $100, so that's about $200 per year. Maybe add an extra $50 or so for annual x-rays. Paying $4.30 for that is stupid. If your employer gives you a highly discounted rate, it might be okay, but for a random person off the street, just pay cash.
Story 5.
When I was a kid, I discovered my grandma has a puzzle box in her drawer. Being a stupid kid, I couldn't figure out how to open it, and after a few unsuccessful attempts at just asking her to show me, I got crafty, as only a stupid kid can, and I thought I'd trick her into showing me. So I gave her a $2 bill I got somewhere and asked her to keep it safe for me in her puzzle box. Well, Grandma knew exactly what I was doing, so the attempt failed. I never get to see her open the box, and promptly forgot about the entire thing. Fast forward to 20 years. Grandma has now died, rest in peace, and Mum's going through her safe to figure out what's what, and one runs through an envelope with my name on it. Inside is a $2 bill and a short note explaining that it belongs to me and was given to her for safekeeping. She did keep it safe for me, right next to the deed to her house and other important financial documents, even though it was a silly attempt at trickery and not a genuine request. I did end up getting that puzzle box, and as an adult, it took about half a second to figure out how to open it. It currently contains a rattlesnake rattle that my grandma got as a little girl, and that was her treasure she kept in her puzzle box. A $2 bill inside, and that note.
Story 6.
Anyone below the age of 18 that works and gets taxes taken from their check. The definition of taxation without representation. These millions of dollars worth of relief funds that the FedGov gets approved in past bills, they love to pivot the highlights of those bills on these types of things. Meanwhile, they're hard at work, tucking much larger rations of the total bill amount behind such relief funds. Once the dollar for the FGGs landed the corresponding account, that when they stop attending to it, they actually leave it up to a certain financial institution's bank, plus a few other smaller companies that meet their requirements to create these systems that end up being put out in place a lot of the times, and this is why the documentation/inquiry/review/response waiting periods may take really long. This is where they enjoy watching humans suffer and kill each other. They even go around to sell poison to each other. Wild to know that money can get people out of these situations being sit in an account for the entire time and make zero effort in structuring a system to then get those funds out of the citizens.
Story 7.
Health insurance companies in the US. We don't need health insurance companies at all. Primary care physicians in private practices pay $100,000 plus annually in administrative costs. Patients pay insurance premiums, some being charged $1,000 monthly. Then insurance companies, rather than our healthcare providers, determine, approve or deny, whether patients receive treatments, testing, durable medical equipment, therapies, medications, and consultants/treatments by specialists. A life-saving treatment may be available locally, however, if it's out of network, not affiliated with or covered by one's insurance plan, one doesn't receive their care, despite having the medical insurance and their healthcare provider's orders. Health insurance is a scam that only insured companies benefit from. The US needs single-payer Medicare for all now.
Story 8.
Yep. Found out that Planet Fitness was double charging me because they decided to randomly say nah to my transfer. After all, I moved to a different city and I transferred my membership to a different location. Bullshit that your membership only works in one location anyway, unless you pay more. And instead of fixing it, they said I had to mail in a request to cancel it, which of course, quote-unquote, might take a few months to process. They don't accept credit cards either. They just take only direct account info. Presumably, you can't just change a card. Yeah, that. I marked everything from them as fraudulent and made sure that my bank doesn't allow them access again. I learned the hard way never to sign up with anything that requires checking access.
Story 9.
My fiancée and I had to convince her brother last year not to join a pharmaceutical MLM. They had a website that described the different tiers you could achieve and how much you could make. Would have been hilarious if we weren't trying to convince her brother not to spend his life savings on it. They called it the 5x12 program or something. Basically, convince 5 people to work below you, then have those 5 convince another 5 people as well, etc., etc. If you succeed, then you would be estimated to be making about $500,000 per year. Know how many people come out working for you? 1,220,703,125 people. So, like, 15% of the world's population. We gave her brother that information, and he still tried for it!
Story 10.
Credit scores. They are a history of things that show you are able, low risk, to lend money to. This is how it's structured to make you think that you show a history of good behavior, take on debts and pay them back well ahead of time. But people should be more than willing to hand you money, but they don't. They would rather deny you and go after the guy who will pay the most interest or the minimal, so interest stacks. They are not used for that, but to see who is in the best area to owe a lender as much as possible. They are not intended to be used to see if you should get internet cable or even able to rent from an apartment complex. They should never be used to get a job. But here we are.